Okay, I'll start. Maya, I know that you saw the film for the second time. First time you saw the film at Sundance, at the premiere. So I have the rare pleasure to ask you for your fresh second impression. What do you think?
It was really emotional this time for me. I'm just not. It's different in Germany.
What do you mean?
I don't know, I think in America I was just happy it was getting screened at all. So I didn't even pay attention to what was on there fully. But here is different and it's very emotional. Yeah.
You look like you might cry.
I know, it's like, my makeup's gone on this side. But yeah, I think this time that was a massive task and that you've achieved something really good. Yeah.
Yay! So you became kind of the visual biographer, right? Before we go into the content, it's important for me to lay out the process of the making of this film, because we see a lot of footage is actually shot by Maya herself. So please tell us, what was the chronic of it? What happened? You asked her, she asked you, which probably...
I asked her, that's me at the beginning saying we met in art school in 1995, so I've known her for a long time, and I saw her make these documentaries in Sri Lanka and Elastica, and always kept in the back of my mind, I was like, I bet that's amazing footage and we should make a film. And it was only in about 2011-12 that it felt like the right time to do that. So I approached Maya and just said, oh, you know all those old tapes, can I have those? But I think Maya's idea was that I was going to make a music documentary, a tour documentary, and she just had so much footage of so much stuff that I think she thought most of that was the least significant forgotten bits. But there was so much trust because she just gave me boxes and boxes and carrier bags of tapes and didn't watch them. So lots of that stuff Maya hadn't watched back since she filmed it in 1998 or year 2000. So it was, yeah, incredible to watch it back.
Yeah, how was it for you? I mean, I told you also in the press conference today, for me this film gives a lot of context. I even could understood your beats better after the film, because I could hear the explosions you put in the beats. I understood how you did your beats by researching. I understood the dedicated political artist, you know, the dedicated political activist artist. But you're not sure, you have been not sure, at least in the press conference today. So I thought maybe given the fact that we see also that it's really difficult for you to put your message across, right? At some point you say, how can I talk about the struggle without talking about the struggle? So is it for you maybe a vehicle, this film, to maybe get your message across better? Can we understand M.I.A. a bit better in a more complex way after this film?
I don't know, I waited for so long for this film to be made because obviously I wanted the tour documentary, that by the time Steve was like, I finished the film, I'd forgotten it, you know, as well, and I didn't need it because I'd become somebody else by then, you know, with different issues and different stuff going on in my life. So for me, it was like, if you make a film, you make a film. But I was disappointed because we discussed very early on when he said, oh, it's not a tour documentary, can I have all the other tapes? He pitched it to me as, you know, we should make a documentary for poor kids to learn how to make it, you know, with no money, because this was like 2011, 12. And so it was a year after I'd given him all the live footage, and he was like, it's an important film you've got to make about poor people because, you know, that's like very tough for musicians because, you know, I might have been like one of the few last ones that got in, coming from such an underprivileged kind of place to becoming what I became. kind of have to come from a privileged place. So he was like, we should do a guidebook on how to do it. And then I was like, oh cool, like that's what you should do. But we never really thought it was going to be a film about, you know, include all my Sri Lankan stuff and all of those things. But I wanted to be involved, so I was like, you know, let me cut 5 minutes of it and stuff. And he'd let me entertain that idea like it was going to happen, but he just didn't let me in. And he'd be like, yeah, you know, sure, I'll call you. And then he didn't call for 7 years.
But the result is great, I think. Steve, maybe you want to comment on that? And for me, it's also interesting why you had this focus of not M.I.A. the star. The grandmother is more important than Jay-Z, right? Sri Lankan footage. Through the film, not only in the beginning, you come back to it as if you want to weave everything, you know, every video, etc., into the Sri Lankan story. So why this focus?
I think because it's been important to mine. One of the frustrating things about seeing how M.I.A. is sometimes portrayed in the media and how some journalists deal with her, they won't take the time to join the dots of her journey and sort of say, like you're saying, you can understand where a song came from and why these images are in a music video and why these lyrics are happening. If you write a paragraph in an article saying, and this girl's Tamil, and this is what happened in Sri Lanka in 2009, hence in 2010, her music's really angry, and they didn't do that, and it was frustrating for me to be on the sidelines watching that happen to her, and the misinterpretation.
Journalism changed. Like, I think when I first started, journalists were more free to be, you know, to have an opinion. And then from 2010 onwards, it always felt like, you know, journalists sort of worked for like a bigger agenda and they didn't have as much freedom of press.
Clickbait came in. Like, as a very digital artist, and the whole thing's been a journey of like digital media, because we were at college at just the right time for digital cameras to just start coming out.
And also journalists play the clickbait thing is the same for musicians. Like, you know, you've got to get the hits and you've got to get the likes and you've got to get... It all became about numbers, and it wasn't about the story or even trying to be authentic. It's like, that's not even an issue. And I think if you're an artist that straddles so many decades, those are all the things. You know, that's probably the modern problem of you know, what musicians face now. Even though it's not really a music doc, it's difficult to tell a story through music now, you know, because we just don't have the time for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of what you're saying about why did I choose to not focus on just the fame section and make the grandma as important as a character as Kanye or whatever, to me they're just more interesting. I just think it's a film, it's like a feminist film full of strong women without ever actually pointing that out or acknowledging it. It's, I think, M.I.A.'s tapes for the first 7 years before she makes music, the bit from college up to that, is so interesting because she doesn't know what's going to happen to her. She doesn't know she's going to do music. She doesn't know that this is going to end up in a success. It could have just been an awful decision to try and make art while your family is struggling, and the risk and the bravery I just think is really compelling on screen. To like, she's taking her time to find out who she is, investigate her family. Like, people don't do that sometimes. So it's really...
Okay, last question to Maya, because I think the audience wants to talk as well. So you yourself is actually a filmmaker. You directed your music videos, and big parts of this film is shot by you. You're actually the camera woman, right, of this film.
Yeah, we get paid.
Yeah, unpaid camera woman. Are you? Yeah. And I know there was more than 700 hours of footage, a lot of stuff, and I know that it's strange that someone else makes the film from your own footage, and I know there's footage that you think was left out. What was the footage that you think
Yeah,
should
like
have been inside?
690 hours.
690 hours.
Was left out.
Yes. But what do you think should have been inside? And maybe also for an idea for the next project. What kind of film would you do with the footage that is left outside?
Oh, I mean, I wanted to make something, you know, for me, it was about, if I'd made a film, it would be to try and make an interesting technical film. So, like, it would have to, you know, I don't know, for me, it's actually about the creativity, and I probably would pay less attention to the story. But for Steve, that's probably why we're different. And I'm very, like, impatient, so it will probably be done in a week. And, yeah, and I think there are tricks in there that I noticed today, like, that when the Lynn Hirschberg thing happened and I had that green t-shirt on with the black handprints on it, and it was the New York skyscraper thing. So, like, I had that t-shirt on, and then 2 years later I've got the same t-shirt on after the Super Bowl when I find out I'm getting sued for 60 million. And I was like, that t-shirt's got juju, like really bad vibes. And I have to go home and burn it because it's in there twice and they're the worst bits of my life. So I got to notice things like that. And I think there'll be more, you know, stuff like that.
I'm glad you noticed that clever edit, because I've never noticed that.
Okay, there is consequences after the film. So, dear public, you want to participate in this debate? You have questions, or shall I just go on? Over there, on the right-hand side, a red arm.
Hi. I really enjoyed the film. I think it was really nice to see your guys' relationship and how close you are. And I thought that was really touching. There's something really female and soft and touching. I guess I can't find a better word for it. And so I wanted to know more about, like, your relationships with the editors and how did that work, and if their input was at all, like, interesting or helped with that kind of female-centric kind of thing?
Definitely. Marina, one of the co-editors, is in the auditorium tonight, and also my producer Laurie Cheetle, and there was loads of really strong female energy around the film, and it did influence the edit decisions and the trajectory of the film. And I agree with you, it has got definitely a very strong sense of feminine power in it, partly because it's M.I.A, but not just M.I.A, the grandma, M.I.A.'s mum, Justine. Loads of women in that film, I think, are inspirational and strong, and just seeing them help each other and connect is really inspiring.
I don't know the process at all, so I don't know why you're handing me the mic, because he took the footage, and the whole footage was edited in New York, so I didn't have a visa to go and sit in on the edit. So you know, I have no idea who was involved. But I'm glad that it's out, or it's here, finished, or nearly finished, or whatever it is. And yeah, this is what you're, you know, experiencing. I've gone through it once before, and that's as much as I know about the film as well. So it's kind of weird.
More questions from the audience. Over here, in the middle. Here, in the middle. And then there, sorry, didn't see you. So.
Hey, big fan. When you produced Carla, was it the second album? That production techniques just looked insane. So you're just recording so much interesting stuff. I think it's like artistically and technically one of the most interesting records that no one really looks at, about all the things you did out there, all the different musicians you work with, the techniques. So, and it's great seeing that on film. So could you talk about that a bit?
Well, Steve left a lot out. And I think altogether it's squashed into about 3 minutes. But yeah, that was like what there'd be more of if I'd made the film. Yeah. But you know the story, I've said this a lot in the press about how I made it, but yeah, we had a lot of footage about how we made that record. And like, throughout the technology changes, like, we started on Hi-A and then went to mini DV, and then by the time I made Cala, you know, I had iChat and computers and like digital camera. So then I did film a lot of that stuff, and Steve has it all. And you know, a lot of times we make records on iChat and stuff like that, and he has all of that. So I think there's potential to cut another film about the creative bit and not my grandma. Yeah.
I was thinking that this is maybe the difference between a biography and an autobiography. He did your biography, and you can do the autobiography.
Everyone wants to fund my film. Call me after this.
We have the lady.
So I'm interested to know what happened after you got sued. Did you have to pay anything? 16 billion, what the fuck? And what was my second question? I forgot.
Yeah.
How did you meet Diplo, and if you still do music together?
That's a good question. The NFL thing, if we just deal with it very quickly, is something like bound up in legal. We're not really allowed to talk about it. So
Steve made a trailer for the documentary 5 years ago, and then he leaked it and said he'd rather kill himself than to finish the film. And he quit. And it was all over the press that he quit, and everyone's like, what do you expect? It's M.I.A. No one can handle her, even her best friend. And so that sort of added to my, like, how prickly they thought I was as a person. But luckily somebody from the NFL saw the trailer, and they got really scared that Steve was going to make a whole big film about the Super Bowl versus the Sri Lankan War, and they didn't want it to be attached. So they dropped the case. So in a roundabout way, when he disappeared, he ended up, which is again why I had to completely trust him, because he saved me $16 million. So I was like, it's worth it. You know.
And how did you meet Diplo? I mean, I know the answer.
In a club. It's not that interesting.
Time for one more question. I'm gonna take your female.
I just want to thank you that it's such an empowering film for a generation in Europe growing up of migrants and having a war background, and I just think I want to thank you for this film, because I think it's like an untold history of a lot of people, which, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
We take this girl, because I said I'm going to take... Very shortly, we have to really run down.
I'm fighting for my voice to be heard. So thank you very much for answering all these questions. I was wondering, I'm a young musician myself, and I just really wonder how you feel about social media these days as a movie maker yourself. You know, I guess back in the day it wasn't really possible for you to show your material, you know, and now everybody's doing Instagram stories, basically making documentaries all day. And I just really wonder how you feel about that. You must have kind of a twisted relationship with that, and yeah, I'm just very curious about that.
Yeah, I was thinking that, like, you know, people getting dressed up to take Instagram photos, like, you know, there's a career now. And Steve didn't choose a single shot of me where I look good. And I was like, oh my God, this is not going to go down with the Instagrammers, you know, because it's just like the worst shots you can find. And I was thinking, that's really weird, you know, that is almost like it's like a antidote, you know, to be able to look so bad. And it was like, in the end, that's like how I'm going to process that. But yeah. You know.
Okay. Maya, you look great.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking forward to the upcoming autobiographical film. I want to thank you Stephen, thank you Maya, the audience, thank you.